Welcome to the DisabiliTEA, a podcast where we have candid discussions about all things related to disability. Short-term, long-term, financial claims, impact on other areas of life, causes in the workplace, and more. With your host, attorney Anjel Burgess. You can find this show at www.disabilityhelpline.com and on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Now here's the host of the DisabiliTEA, Anjel Burgess.
Hello and welcome to the DisabiliTEA. Today we are pleased to have with us as our very special guest, Bridget Lewis from Workplace Learning Solutions. Welcome.
Hi, Angel. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be a part of your podcast.
Well, we are so glad to have you. We're looking forward to learning all about you and the services that you provide. So let's just jump right in, Bridget. Tell us about yourself.
Well, let's see. I'm a little island girl. I am from the Caribbean. You may have heard of my country, Antigua and Barbuda. Yeah. We are, usually a stop on many Caribbean cruises. So I'm from Antigua, and when I was growing up, I used to introduce myself as the girl from Antigua, where we have 365 beaches, one for every day of the year. Then people would ask me, well, why are you here? And, that's a long story. But yes, I am Bridget Lewis. I am the founder and owner of Workplace Learning Solutions. And in a little bit, I guess I'll be able to tell you how Workplace Learning Solutions came to be. But I am a mother of three. All three of my kids are adults now. And so I have a new baby at home who is my little furry little friend, Daisy. And Daisy is actually recuperating from surgery today. She had her spay. I don't know how to say that, but she got spayed on Friday, so she's recuperating. But I live in DeKalb County, live in Lithonia. I've lived in the States for maybe about 28 years now. So I consider myself a Georgia peach. Yes, I do, with roots in the Caribbean. So that's a little bit about me. I guess as we go through the interview, even more about me will come out.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Workplace Learning Solutions and that you are the founder. So tell us about the business.
So Workplace Learning Solutions is my fourth child. Okay. That company was born back in the early 2010s, 2010 to be exact. Prior to that, I had been working in the corporate environment and was a fortunate victim. That's an oxymoron if you ever heard one, but a fortunate victim of the recession at the time. I got laid off on December 1st, 2009, actually. And in 2010, I decided, I didn't decide to start a business. I thought that I was going to take a little break, though, from, job searching and working, having a formal job and doing more consulting on the side. Okay. Well, there were other plans in the works for me because before you knew it, I had a business plan. I was starting a business and my business had a name, Workplace Learning Solutions. And I really started the business because I've always been a champion for the underdog. So in my corporate roles, I was in training and development and performance consulting. And I always had a passion for, providing services and training to the smaller guys. Like, I used to always complain, how come the VPs and the the higher echelons of the company, how come they get all the development? Why don't we do more for the line level folks?
Right.
And that was heard, but never really done, too much about it. And so when I started Workplace Learning Solutions, that was my dream, to now be able to provide those services to the small guy, namely the small businesses. But guess what? In 2009, 2010, nobody wanted to talk about training. Training was not a priority, because at that time everyone was trying to survive. I mean, we had really high unemployment, and companies were just struggling. So training was a nice to have, but not something that was on everybody's immediate to-do list. And so I had to pivot. And in figuring out what to do next, I actually landed on the Georgia Vocational Rehab Agency, and the work that they are doing with individuals with disabilities. And we got involved with that. And that was back in 2014. And so I started working with individuals with disabilities, providing them with pre-employment services, training and work skills development, teaching them how to search for jobs, how to interview, and all of those things, and then helping them actually find, employment. And that gave me a very big sense of satisfaction, to the point where for quite a few years, my identity, my company's identity, became aligned with serving individuals with disabilities. I also started working with individuals with Social Security. So we had SSI and SSDI individuals through Ticket to Work. And those two were, where I put a lot of my time and effort and talents into supporting that group. But recently I've decided that I want to go back to my roots and get back to what Workplace was created to do in the first place. Not giving up working with individuals with disabilities, because they are part of that picture. And really and truly, I'm motivated by helping them achieve their needs. And so starting, we're working on a rebrand, which we're hoping to go live with, if you will, effective January 1st, 2024. So we're going to rebrand all of our website and our social media and our marketing messages and all of those things. So it's an exciting time right now for Workplace Learning Solutions.
Wonderful. Well, I know that we were introduced maybe even 10 years ago, or close to. It's been quite a while. And my familiarity with you has always been in working with individuals with disabilities. And so I want to first start off talking about some of those supports and services that you provide to individuals. So what is a scenario in which an individual that has a disability or disabilities may come to you? What would they come to you for?
Great question. And when we typically would have either a referral from Georgia Vocational Rehab, or a direct call from an individual with on the Ticket to Work program. But in both instances, it's usually this is an individual who is looking for employment, and they need some help doing that. Because the help will look different depending on the individual. The folks that we serve, for example, The skill set range from basic entry level, retail type, the service that they offer, all the way up to one of my clients has a PhD.
Okay.
And so on the ticket to work side, I find that we have a lot of people who were once professionals in their own right, and may have encountered some kind of an unfortunate event in life that caused them to not be able to work for a while, but now they're ready to jump back in
Okay.
and get back, get their independence back. And on the GVRA side, it can usually be someone who um, they tend to be younger and they have not necessarily worked before, but they're interested in finding that employment so that they can make their own money. So many of them come in saying, Miss Bridget, I just want to get my own apartment. That's usually what they come in saying. I want to get my own apartment. So we have to learn to crawl before we can walk and all of that, but it's usually related to employment. And
Okay.
so what we do with these individuals, we assess them first to see where they are and what their actual needs are, because some are going to be a little bit more advanced, if you will, than others. Some will need more help than others. And so we assess them first so we can see how best to serve them.
Okay.
One of the things that I pride myself in, and it I think this is a service differentiator for us, is that we don't necessarily just, you know, um, have a bank of jobs. So when people come, we say, okay, here's a job for you, and
Right.
just place them in a position, because we really truly believe that when a person is doing something they love, they're more likely to stick with it. And if it's more, employment should be more than just, let's put you in a job so you can make minimum wage. It really needs to be something that this person is passionate about. And so even though we do have a few partnerships that we've been able to develop over time, we are very largely person centric, because when that individual comes in, whether they want to work, in a hospital setting, or they want to work, we have people who come in wanting to work at Kroger or Publix, or we have, people who want to teach, or, people who, have a background and skills in business, and they want to get back into an environment where they can use those skills again. It doesn't matter what their background is and where, and what skills they actually do have. We work with them to find a position that fits their need. So we teach them, it's really important to teach them how to hunt,
Right.
because a lot of times people will just go on and I'm going to try to avoid to name companies, because I'm not sure, if I can do that, but people will go to the most popular job search sites
Right.
online, and and start putting in applications, and those don't necessarily work the same way for every candidate.
Right.
And so teaching them how to identify good job leads, how to recognize scams, because sometimes we do have a lot of that, unfortunately, on some platforms. So how to recognize scams and stay away from those, and how to even put in a job application in some instances. Clients need to know how to do that. So we work with them in discovering those things. We also have trainings that we provide for them. Specifically, this year we launched two of our training programs: the office assistant training program and the food service industry training program, that we put our clients through who are interested in those fields. Because again, not everyone wants to be an office assistant, and
Right.
not everyone wants to work in food service. So it has to be a good fit for those individuals as well. So we provide them with that training. We help them with the resume. Whether it's that their resume is outdated because it's been so long since they've been, job searching, or they have no resume at all. We work with them to make sure that they have a competitive tool, a competitive resume that they can use in their job search. And then we also teach them interviewing skills, how to address the huge gap, for an individual who has been off work for a while. How do you address that in the interview? And how do you just answer just the basic interview questions, like tell me about yourself and what are your strengths and weaknesses and things like that. So we coach them through those scenarios as well. And then we also help them identify job leads. I always tell my clients, I don't ever want it to be that I want you to find a job more than you want to find a job. So
Right.
therefore, you've got to put some skin in the game.
Right.
You have got to show me that you are serious about this, and I will help you, as far as I'm able, and as far as I can. And sometimes that means that, I'll have suitable job leads that I can share with them and they can apply for. And sometimes if it's with a company that I have a relationship with, then we can put in a word for them. We can, highly recommend them for these positions and things like that. So that's kind of the cycle that they go through. And then with many, especially on the ticket to work side, that relationship continues even after they've been placed, because they may need on the job accommodations. For example, they may get to the job and realize, oh, we need to ask for whatever those changes might be to accommodate them, so they're still able to do their job, but do it in a way that takes into consideration whatever the disability is that they have. And then with the ticket to work folks as well, we provide benefits advisement to make sure that, because we have some who will come who they don't really want to lose their benefits.
Sure.
They just want a job to supplement their benefits. And then, we have to advise them, because with the Ticket to Work program, the goal is self-sufficiency. So then we have to advise those who don't want to lose their benefits a little differently from those who are going after self-sufficiency. But that's pretty much how we support these individuals, getting them ready for employment and then supporting them after placement to make sure that they are successful on the job.
Now, for individuals who need more intensive support, can they get a job coach or someone to kind of act as the intermediary or the go-between between the individual and maybe the supervisor on the job? Do you guys provide job coaching as well if it's needed?
Actually, we do. So when we get those types of referrals, will typically come from GVRA, or Georgia Vocational Rehab, and they will be referred for a service called supported employment.
Okay.
And supported employment includes all of those supports, including the job coach, whose job it is to ensure that this person acclimates to the workplace, learns his or her job, develop a relationship with the supervisor, to ensure that the supervisor knows if there are any issues or any problems come up, they know who to reach out to ensure that this individual is set up for success. So yes, that is definitely one of the services. It's actually one of the primary services that we offer through GVRA.
Okay. So with the services through GVRA, how does a client pay you, or does the client pay you?
The client pays me nothing.
Okay.
The client, yep. So these services are paid for through funding that GVRA has available, because GVRA is I feel comfortable dropping that name because that's part of the service that is being offered. But it's an agency that every individual that has a disability should become familiar with, especially when you're looking for support, whether it be for employment or education, because they will help in both instances. But the services, when GVRA refers you to a provider like myself, they call us providers, you don't pay anything. That those services are paid for through GVRA because they receive federal funds, and I think some state funds too, that are there to pay for these services to be provided to individuals with disabilities. So yeah, no need to worry about how is it going to get paid for.
Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Great news. So it's a service really that if you know anyone that has a disability that's looking for any sort of support, it's to your advantage to utilize your services.
Yep.
Now, is there a way, because if there are families listening or individuals listening or watching that say, I want my 18-year-old son to work with Bridget Lewis. Is there a way that the family can request that they work with you to get a referral from GVRA?
There absolutely is. I actually have a case that we're getting ready to get started this month with our first, what we call our service identification meeting. But this is a family that I have been talking to for about 2 years.
Okay.
This family has a son with a traumatic brain injury, and was looking for ways to. I think they were looking for him to get on disability first,
Okay.
and so he has finally gotten that, and so now I referred them into GVRA because they wanted to work with me to help him find a job. And I said, well, the first thing that we have to do is get you signed up with GVRA. And so they did, and they requested from that counselor, they said, we want to work with Workplace Learning Solutions. And so that, has worked, and we are scheduling our first service identification meeting so that we can now help him, find a job. So absolutely, you can actually, once you register with GVRA, you can actually tell them from the start, okay, I've been working with this lady, or, she's been guiding me, for X number of time, or I was referred to her, whatever the situation is. And you can say, I want to work with her. Now, keep in mind that if the need is employment, then, that's, going to be pretty easy. But if it's a need for something else like education, that's not part of our services. And so, yeah. And so for you to get referred out to us, it would have to be that the need is an employment need.
And it sounds like you all provide very individualized service. Like
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
really tailoring the service to the individual and what their specific needs are.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it a little faster to work with you or Workplace Learning Solutions as opposed to going through GVRA and maybe getting a referral from them or not? But is it a little faster if they know going into it, we want to work with Workplace Learning Solutions? They go to GVRA. Can they get started with you faster that way than kind of going through the channels and waiting to get a referral from GVRA?
That's a tough question for me to answer, because it depends on which GVRA unit they're working through. It depends on the counselor that they're working with. There's a lot of factors that are outside my control, because we can't start working with them until they're referred out to us. But how quickly that happens will depend on, how that counselor at that particular unit, how quickly they move on their caseload. If it's if it's a situation where they're working with a counselor that I'm familiar with, if it's, because I don't know all the counselors at GVRA, but I do have a close enough relationship with some of them. And so if this individual is working with a counselor that I'm familiar with, then I can put in a word as well and say, hey, such and such, an individual is has requested GVRA services, and they really would like to work with me. Can you kind of push that forward? I could possibly do that with someone that I already know, but unfortunately it's that piece of it I don't have a whole lot of control over. Now, I will say this: if this individual is interested in becoming self-sufficient, and self-sufficiency for this purpose means that your goal is you're currently receiving either SSI or SSDI benefits, and your goal is to get off of benefits.
Okay.
So you're going to get a job that is going to, where you're going to earn enough money to replace your benefits. Then I would say it would be quicker to get started with just come directly as a ticket to work client, because the difference with if you go through GVRA, we have to wait on that organization to go through their due diligence and their processes. If you're coming in as a ticket to work client, it's direct. So there's no middle agency that's, that we have to wait on. So if you call and you're interested in ticket to work, then it's a direct, a self-referral, if you will, to us, and we can start working with you right away, literally right away. But that would only work for an individual who is interested in self-sufficiency. Because when we have those who are not interested in losing their benefits, but just want a job to supplement their benefits, then they would have to go through GVRA.
Okay. So is there an option for private pay? So if a family, sometimes I get calls and, the family may say, well, we've already started, the process with GVRA. They are, they have far more cases than they do, people to work on the cases. So is there a private pay option? If someone said, I don't want to wait on GVRA, I want my child to get these services, can I pay for them?
Absolutely. We're open to that. I haven't seen very many of those, types of self-referrals, but yes, we absolutely would entertain, the idea of having a self-pay client. And we would pretty much structure it just based on how GVRA pays for services. But yes,
Okay.
that's an option.
All right. Wonderful. Well, now I want to turn to some of the other services that you provide, namely talking about some of the HR support that you provide. So tell us about those services.
Awesome. So when I did my introduction, I mentioned that we pivoted away from what we originally were established to do.
Right.
And so I came out of human resources in my corporate, in my corporate career when I was working at a corporate entity with a corporate entity. And so when I started Workplace Learning Solutions, I really wanted to do training and development and performance consulting and provide those types of services to small businesses because I know that small businesses would love to participate in these types of services if there were affordable options.
Right.
And so this year I've decided, well, actually, let me back up a little bit because there's a link between my clients with disabilities and why I'm now doing some of the HR supports that I'm doing. And that ties back to benefits, employee benefits.
Okay.
When I'm supporting my Ticket to Work clients a few years back, they would come asking questions about their Medicare because most of my Ticket to Work clients are Medicare eligibles. And they would come asking, well, Miss Bridget, how long am I going to have my Medicare? And when is my Medicare going to be, is going to end? And is finding a job, is that going to affect, my coverage and things like that? And some of the questions they would ask, Angel, I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer because I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated not knowing. And so I decided, okay, well, let me figure out how to educate myself on Medicare issues so that when they come asking these questions, I can give them more than a, well, I think maybe, I wanted to be more definitive with my answer. And so what I discovered, though, on that quest to find that education is that before I could even touch the Medicare stuff, I had to become a licensed agent, a licensed insurance agent.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so I went ahead and I got my insurance license and then got appointed with, all of the major Medicare providers. And that first year did really, really well, helping my clients understand their Medicare, having some of them actually enrolled in new Medicare Advantage plans and things like that. And then it dawned on me, I was like, wait a minute, you have an insurance license now. That means you can do insurance stuff. You
Right.
can do health insurance, you can do Medicare. And I was advised when I was going for my license to do life and health.
Okay.
And so I'm also, able to do life insurance. So I'm like, why not find a way to marry that into Workplace Learning Solutions and what we do? And so after, giving it some thought and, talking to my mentors, I decided we are going to rebrand ourselves as the HR department for small businesses.
Okay.
So my new tagline is going to be, we are your HR department. And in that HR department, we're focusing on 3 specific services. people management. So
Okay.
that has to do with the recruiting and with the, and all the things that's involved with hiring new staff. We're going to do training and development, which is, the core of where I came into this space wanting to do. And we're also going to do employee benefits. And so that's how we're going to move forward into 2024 as the HR department for small businesses, because we recognize that in the small business space, especially small businesses that are under 50 employees,
Okay.
um, their capacity for having an HR person on staff is minimal.
Right.
And so they would appreciate having a resource that handles these HR pieces for them. And when we look at people management, everything from recruiting to employee orientation to onboarding to performance management and those kinds of services, just getting them started with on the right foot with making the right hire and providing the right type of experience for that hire so that they will want to stay, and then providing them with professional development opportunities through our training and development services, and making sure that they have great employee benefits. I think that will go a long way in helping to reduce turnover in small businesses, impacting their bottom line, making sure that they're not spending a whole lot of money trying to recruit and rehire and retrain new employees every few months, and take that particular responsibility off the to-do list of the CEO, because that's who usually has to do that stuff.
That's right.
Or the CEO might have a bright employee that they make responsible for some of the basic parts of HR. But if they have an HR department that is, ensuring that all of the moving parts work well together, I think that that's a valuable service that will be added for small businesses, especially because the small business is competing for the same talent that the larger
Right.
business with bigger pockets, bigger budgets are able, and they're able to do a whole lot more. And so these small businesses, when they lose their employees to these larger corporations, is because those larger corporations are able to provide more. And the research is showing that employees are really valuing professional development and, believe it or not, benefits. They're really valuing these things. And so Workplace Learning Solutions would like to get back into the game of, working with small businesses to make sure that they're more competitive. We want our small businesses to hold on to our talent. When when we find great talent, we want to make sure that we're able to hold on to that talent.
Wonderful. Wow. What another great service
Yeah.
that you provide. So, are there any tips or tools that you want to share with the audience as it relates to disability training, retraining, any sort of tips or tools that you would like to offer?
So, as it relates to disability, one tip that I would like to share with our small businesses is that there's a lot of talent within us, our citizens with disabilities. And oftentimes when we think, and I say we collectively, when we think of a person with a disability, the first thought that comes is what that person cannot do.
Right.
That's the first thing that comes to mind. But we're looking at a talented pool of individuals. Disabilities come in different sizes and shapes, yes. And one person with a disability does not define every person with a disability. And so the tip that I would like to give small businesses as it relates to disability is to be more open-minded and work with an organization like Workplace Learning Solutions, because we want to prepare that person to succeed in your roles, in your jobs that you have available. And we have, like I mentioned before, we have a broad spectrum of candidates. So not all of our candidates have a special ed diploma. Many of our candidates have higher degrees. They have associates, bachelors, masters. Even I do actually have a PhD on my caseload, right? So being more open to people with disabilities and giving them a chance, because these guys are going to be the most loyal employees. You give them a shot, they're going to stay for a very, very long time. And so that's the tip for small businesses as it relates to people with disabilities.
That's a great.
Sorry, can you remind me the other part of the question?
I'm sorry?
Can you remind me the other part of the question?
Just anything else that you wanted to share. So you've given us a great tip for individuals with disabilities and small businesses that may be considering or should consider hiring individuals with disabilities. Anything to share as it relates to kind of the healthcare front and that portion that your business is working on?
Absolutely. And so from a healthcare perspective, when we look at small businesses again, oftentimes a small business is not able to afford the cost of providing health care to their employees.
Right.
But there is something called the healthcare marketplace, right? And there's a way for a small business to work with an agent like myself who can put together a benefits package that makes you look like a rock star to your employees and costs you nothing, right? And there are ways, and for those who are able to put something, because there are some employers who might be able to put a few dollars in, just not, the full 50%, is because it is, in order for you to get credit for it, you have to pay 50% of the cost of the insurance. And there are some small employers who, can put something in, but maybe not the full 50%. So there are strategies that can be used. There are ways that we can work with you to identify the appropriate strategy to where, you can show your employees that you care. You can make sure that they have the health coverage that they need. And then there are other benefits as well, as something as simple as PTO. It's amazing how how far that will go when you have an employee who might have a situation at home that they need a few days,
right?
And they know that, okay, I can without fear ask to take a few days off and know that my job will still be waiting for me. So something as simple, just the little things, is the little things that show that you care, that will go a long way with your employees. And there's some research that supports that an employee will actually, if you have a great culture, great benefits, great, and they feel that they are valued, that they will actually consider that over pay. Now, That only goes so far, though. It only goes so far. You can't pay them minimum wage,
Right.
and they could go and get 5 times that somewhere else. But the key is that, do something, show that you value them, you value their input, you value their time, you value their lives, and they will put forth the effort to make your business grow.
Wonderful. Another great tip, really great tip. Well, we appreciate you being here with us to talk with us about workplace learning solutions. Can you tell our audience how they can contact you to whether it's to talk about assistance with employment for an individual with disability, or even a small business owner that wants to reach out and talk with you about assistance with services? How can they reach you?
The easiest way to reach me is by phone. 678-296-7290 is the easiest way to reach me, but we are also on social media. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram. Those are the 3 main ones that I can remember: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and also our website, www.wlstraininginc.com. Oh, and I guess I should give you my LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram handle, huh? So that would be helpful, wouldn't it? So on Facebook, we are WLS Page.
Okay.
And then with Instagram, it's WLS Training Co. And on LinkedIn, it's Workplace Learning Solutions Inc. So it's linkedin.com/company, and then it's Workplace Learning Solutions Inc.
Wonderful. Well, again, Bridget, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wealth of knowledge and the services that you provide to the community.
Awesome.
For our,
I did forget something.
Sure.
I forgot to make one plug. Open enrollment for ACA is coming up, and the annual enrollment period, or AEP, for Medicare is also coming up.
Okay.
So feel free to reach out to me. Easiest way, again, is my phone number, 678-296-7290. But you can also reach me at my other social media sites that I gave. But reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you through your enrollments for this year.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And to all our viewers and listeners, we thank you for joining us as well. This has been another episode of the DisabiliTEA, and we look forward to talking with you next time.
Awesome.
You've been listening to the DisabiliTEA with Anjel Burgess. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing the show with others. You can catch prior episodes at www.disabilityhelpline.com and on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more.